My name's AJ Pagano. I grew up in New Jersey. I grew up on a farm, and like I got bit at some point in my youth. The only reason I could, my way of knowing when I got bit was the first time I was diagnosed. They put me on doxycycline, and I immediately felt like I was when I was in my teens. And it lasted only a couple days because it was my first time taking doxycycline or even treating it.
How old? I
was 42. Yeah. So I was first diagnosed when 42. My first symptoms happened when I was 37. The tail end of it, I had artificial disc replacement in 2012, and I felt great. It was so amazing how well I felt after this surgery. I don't know what it was, if they cleared anything out. I talked to doctors about it. Sloan, for instance, had the same kind of thing, where anesthesia and steroids. So him and I have like kind of a theory. But anyway, staying on point. So I got bit at some time during my youth. I don't know. Like I've had other friends who have had it, back east and stuff like that. And for the most part, no one really has, even, out of a 4-person family. I'm the only one. My mother, brother, and father, if they did get bit, their body beat it and fought it off. So, that was it. And yeah, it took a few years for me to get diagnosed. I had all sorts of crazy symptoms in the sense of neuro. I had fatigue, which everybody usually has. And then my anxiety was through the roof. And I kind of like with business, I enjoyed anxiety. I enjoyed that. That fired me up. So in 2013, it really kicked in bad where like it was crippling and I couldn't do anything. And
the anxiety was crippling.
Yeah. It was, and I didn't know what it was.
Yeah, I had that too.
And then depression just destroyed everything. So here I am with fog having a conversation like this where I couldn't get back on track. I had fatigue where I was just tired all day, get home at night, you can't sleep. And then I had the anxiety of just being in a conversation and talking to somebody.
I had that.
Yeah. And then from there, it was just the depression and like it was shame. It was I didn't know what was going on. I thought it was just drugs. I thought it was just party drugs from back in the day, here in Vegas. And I'm like, why me? Because, I have friends who did a lot more than I did. And 2017 came along. I got diagnosed and that was it. I mean, I knew what it was. I didn't know how to treat it at the time, but I knew what it was at least. And it gave me some sort of kind of, I guess, grounding on who I was. I wasn't, there was something else. So, yeah.
I think the saddest stories I hear is when someone didn't know they had Lyme for 10, 15 years. It's like, damn, I'm glad I found mine sooner.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that's I think, according to this.
That's your intro?
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So,
yeah, I mean, my intro?
Yep.
Grew up in Bountiful, Utah. Not Mormon, though. That's usually the next question.
I keep on always thinking that you're Mormon. Every time I know. You're blonde hair, blue eyes.
I know, I got the innocent face. It's very... if I say I'm from Utah, people would think I'm Mormon, right? Grew up there. I've lived all over, though. I've lived in Asia, lived in Colombia, lived in many different places. But what happened was I was selling solar in Dallas, Texas. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere... like I'm not feeling good. I'm feeling weird and like foggy and like messed up. And back then I just thought, oh, it must be my external circumstances. I didn't think it was internal. But then all of a sudden I started getting these weird marks. So I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh, it's like an alien just like scratched me or something while I was sleeping or just made up whatever. So I'm like, I don't know what's going on. I moved to San Diego. And my friend's wife said, go see this doctor. I go see him, and I show him the pictures of the rashes and everything. And he's like, he runs some tests on my knees and my joints. And he goes, you shouldn't have tendinitis. And he runs this whole huge panel. So I started feeling like crap in 2016, and then February 2017 is when I saw that doctor. So it was pretty quick. Those labs came back. Borrelia, Bartonella, Rocky Mountain spotted fever, babesia, mycoplasma, all of it. And back then I was a little too much on the just try natural stuff. I was like antibiotics, which I changed my mind later. So he told me, hey, take all these antibiotics. And I was like, I don't know if I want to do that. I'm going to try this natural way, blah, blah, blah. But that was the worst. When I was in San Diego, because Rocky Mountain spotted fever, I think, is 30% like chance of death when untreated and stuff. So the depression, the brain fog, the anxiety, the fatigue, the crushing fatigue. I saw a therapist twice a week for the sole purpose to not kill myself.
Okay.
For like 8 months. And when I was seeing him, we were doing all this crazy EMDR stuff. And I was like, one time I was like, hey, I need to see you twice a week. He's like, oh, I never really do that. And I was like, no. If I don't see you twice a week, I'm going to kill myself. And he's like, okay, you want to do Tuesday, Friday, or whatever. So those 8 months were probably the worst 8 months of my entire life. And that's when I felt the worst. Was I first diagnosed, first got hit. Those 8 months in San Diego, brutal. But it was everything, like food sensitivity, crushing fatigue, brain fog, depression. I remember one time, like I was trying to read and I could read the words, but I couldn't understand what I was reading. Like that's how stupid I was.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, I was like, holy shit, like if I was mentally trapped like this, I couldn't work for a year and a half. So I just remember how debilitating it was and how scary it was to be in that state and then trying to survive socially and all that. Because like when you said you had anxiety, I remember one time a group of friends invited me to go get dinner at this taco place in North Park, San Diego. And when I was driving there, I had anxiety, like such bad anxiety. Like I was about to go like stop an atomic bomb or something, And I'm like, why do I feel so scared to go see my friends? And so there was a lot of things that was just like hell on earth, basically.
Yeah. And you still, at that time, you had your business or you were starting it, or where were you? No,
so I was selling solar. Then I couldn't work for a year and a half. Then I started selling solar again, and then I started my business.
Okay.
So I started the business when I was super sick. Not as sick, but yeah, there was San Diego. There was a year and a half I was in San Diego and Utah. I was very confused. In San Diego, I was doing stand-up comedy, improv, like to try to deal with the pain.
Wow.
And like I even threw like a line at someone in the crowd, like because I was joking about my Lyme disease and like was doing some. Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's funny. I mean, I don't want anyone to watch it though, but yeah, it was a very confusing time. Not working, in pure pain, just like trying to do whatever to survive.
Yeah, but you pulled off a business. See, I had to shut mine down. I had to send everybody home. That was, and I didn't know what it was. I thought I just screwed up. Like I was, and so the shame on top of the depression.
Oh yeah.
That really like just because I built this thing. It was my baby. It was, since 2001, and it was over, 12 years, 13 years at that point. And, yeah, I mean, I was the first person to send people home to work remote, and I had to lay off people because I just couldn't handle the bandwidth, and I couldn't handle like even any conversation, even to like just get money out of a client. And
when you did that, you didn't know you had Lyme yet, or you did know?
No, it took me about 4 years after that, 5 years.
Yeah, so you're very confused then.
Yeah, like when Sloan met me, he thought I was mentally retarded. He says it all the time. He was like, dude, I was like, and then after, a year, a year later, he was like, okay, you're not. I'm like, good. Something's working.
Yeah, no, I mean, I remember I built up my whole book of business and I was like kicking ass. And then when I fell apart, I kind of lost everything I built. And I was almost like, I felt kind of like a mini celebrity a little bit because I was one of the top salespeople. But it was weird when I couldn't work anymore and that all fell off because a lot of the friends that I had were no longer friends because it was kind of more like I had all this value. And then as soon as I didn't have value, all these people left. It was funny. There's one person, which, who knows what he's going through, but he told me, because he believed in the law of attraction, he said, hey, I can't be around you anymore because your thoughts attracted a tick to bite you and give you Lyme disease, and you didn't want to be around my vibration. So that's when I was like, all right. All right. That's what I got, just rejected pretty hard right there. But, you know, that's obviously a weird way to put it. But when I was sick, that made me feel really weird. And I was like, oh, people don't want to be around me anymore.
Yeah, he'd probably have a rife machine if he got bit by a tick. No, that was crazy. And, you know, just how you say that, I was really fortunate. And it's, you know, there's multiple ways of looking at that, or any of it. But like my friends were there and have been there more than anything else. Like I have certain friends that, I mean.
Yeah. I had a group of those. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And it was probably more, I didn't mean like, you know, I have a core group of friends that have been there since the beginning, but I was more like, I think I was a little bit tied to the whole like success thing, and like whatever you bring is your value. So that affected me super deeply. And then I would always say, because, you know, my name's TJ, and Taylor's my real name. TJ, what people call me. But I remember I just wake up every day like, all right, it's TJ and Taylor, you know, TJ and Taylor, let's go do this. And like, it's just me and me.
Yeah. And it is you. I mean, no one's going to advocate for you. I see a lot of people who, you know, like they don't know how to advocate for themselves. They don't even know how to ask for help because they're so beat up, and that's sad. How about family? How was family?
I think they were pretty confused at first.
Okay.
And I don't think I had the tools to express my needs correctly. Which actually would be a cool episode, because I think sometimes when we're really sick, and I probably did quite a bit of it, maybe we're reaching out for help. We don't, you know, I sent a lot of texts when I was really sick to people like, I can't do this anymore, I want to kill myself. And that's hard text to receive. Like no one knows what to do with that.
Yeah.
So I think if I would have had a better communication style, I probably would have been able to receive more support. You know, if it's like, hey, I don't feel very good, if you're free later today, I could just use someone just to be around.
Yeah.
But I didn't really communicate effectively. It was more like I felt so scared, and I was operating in a survival mode. I'm probably just sending like these crazy texts that people are like scared, or, you know, because when I was in San Diego, actually the police, I don't know, I put it in my book, but which was kind of crazy for everyone to read, but the police surrounded my house. I was in a bath, and I was on speakerphone with my friend, and I was so out of it, I wasn't even shocked. You know, I just hear these police, I see them, and they're like, there he is, you know. My friend's like, what's that? And speaker was like, I don't know, police are just surrounding my house, I guess, I gotta go talk to them. And my friend's like, what the fuck? And I was like, well, I don't know. I hung up, I go, open the door, police come in, I'm sitting on the bed, and they like surround me, and they're talking to me. And the one guy goes, why are your feet purple? My feet were purple. I don't know. I was like, I don't know. And he's like, okay. He's like, how you feeling? It's like, I feel okay. He's like, you sure? I was like, yeah. He's like, you have some problems going on? I was like, I mean, I have Lyme disease. He's like, all right. So everything's fine. I was like, yeah. And he's like, can you explain this? And then he showed me this text. And that morning, I had sent to some friends a picture of the Coronado Bridge. And I said, I can't take it anymore. So one of my friends called the police, and I had forgotten, because this is like 4 hours later. So then they detained me, put handcuffs on me, took me in the car. The guy that handcuffed me is funny because his name was Joseph Smith, which if you know anything about Mormonism, because he's like, you're from Utah? He's like, my name's Joseph Smith. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And
where's those golden pages, man?
So I'm handcuffed, sitting in the back of this car. I was in denial. I was trying to deny how sick I was, trying to pretend I wasn't that sick. But I was sitting in the back of this cop car, handcuffed. And I'm like, all right, I just got detained by Joseph Smith, and I'm being taken to a psychiatric hospital. I was like, okay, I have a problem. And they took me to the psychiatric hospital, and they're like, you're gonna have to stay here 3 days. And they have like bread and milk. They like, why? I don't know why these places feed people garbage, but
it's like hospital food is garbage too.
So I was like, I gotta escape this place. And the lady I was in the room with was out of her mind. And then I convinced the guy basically let me leave. I lied to him, and I said that a friend from Vegas was driving down to visit me, so I'd be safe, and he wasn't. He's like, can I talk to your friend? I was like, sure, let me put him on speaker. He's like, no, I'll talk to him outside. And he went outside, called my friend, and my friend realized something was going on, and so went along with it.
Wow.
Comes back in, says, you can go. So I left that same day. And then my friend did drive down.
That's pretty badass.
And he drove down.
You still friends with him?
No.
All right.
We had some business falling out.
All right, that can do it too.
We had some good friendship back then. But so then he drove down. I moved back to Utah like 3-4 days after that.
I know somebody here in town, kind of like yours. I had no run-ins with the police for that. No, actually, I haven't had any run-in for the police. I've been pretty fortunate in my life. But so there's a guy here in town who lives up in the Northwest over by Cliff Shadows. Okay. His office and shop is over in North Vegas, clear across Cheyenne. So one night he wakes up in the middle of the night just in his underwear, fogged out with Lyme disease, drives to work. Metro pulls him over. He doesn't know what's going on. They gave him a DUI, and he never even fought it. And he lost his license
and he wasn't under the influence of anything?
No. Lyme disease. But he was just out of it. He was just so far out of it.
DUI on his record?
Yeah.
Man, that's sad.
And he rode his bike down the hill to Cheyenne to East Vegas, and then, North Vegas, and then rode it home in the summer.
Yeah.
He's insane. So.
And that's where the Bartonella too, it messes with your head so much, and it can give you rage. And I remember like wanting to fight people all the time, and like, I think people could see I was kind of crazy. So, you never want, but I was like willing just to like, I don't care. I don't care if I die and I'm all crazy. And so I was like, so it makes you kind of insane. And then it I don't know, it's kind of scary. The scariest thing I think I've ever experienced is kind of losing your mind.
Yeah. I think mine was just the depression, and I was seeing a psychiatrist at the time. So they had diagnosed me clinically depressed. I even was like, hey, should I like just, kind of forfeit my firearms? They're like, no, you're here for help. You're not going to do anything to yourself. And if it wasn't for Debo running around on the floor here, he's the one thing that I had like the entire time, because he was like 3 at the time. So I couldn't put a healthy dog down, and then take my own life. That was my tether, my anchor. My female dog could have went to my aunt, but like he was the one thing, because he didn't like, not to say that he liked people, but he was attached to me. And that has always been like, he's got me through all sorts of stuff. One of my friends, I was just down in Phoenix, and she was just like, that dog knows you're gonna, X, Y, and Z. Then a car accident on my foot, but like, she's like, yeah, he's gonna stick around for a bit more. So he's been for 15 years. And anyway, I mean, we all have, our anchors through it. And now and I'm sure you've told people to reach out to you, like if you need something.
Yeah, no, people reach out, and that's why I wrote the book too. But I mean, the book, you just lose money, and then it's just pure vulnerability. Like so when I hit send, I was like, all right, whatever. I'm putting all of this, like there's some crazy stuff. Like the person I'm dating right now read my book, and so she learned a lot about me. But I think when you have that debilitating of symptoms in a society that values achievement and all this stuff, your value and your isolation and all that can get really messed up. Mm-hmm. And so sometimes I think people with Lyme just need to be validated. I mean, yes. I've looked like this the whole time, but everyone always is like, you look good.
Yeah.
So it's like I have this invisible prison.
Well, they also say people with Lyme are the best actors.
The doctors say that?
No, I've read in a couple books, and they're like, just in general stuff, like there's some sort of thing online that people with Lyme disease are like the best actors.
And making it up?
No, in the sense of like you have to put a face on, like you show up in front of somebody, and I mean, I've looked like shit at certain times because the autoimmune aspect had made me lose a lot of weight. So like right now I'm right around 190. I mean, I was at 200, but I had to lose weight because of the broken foot, and I just didn't want to I consciously lost weight just to take weight off the foot, from beating it up anymore. But no, I was like another 20 pounds, and you see it in my face, stuff like that. My father, like again, family really did nothing for me. I mean, with him, he's the worst with anything. But he even went at one time, he saw pictures and he's like, that's not my son. That's what he says to me on the phone.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So he's like, people just take antibiotics. I'm like, okay, but he's, you know. But
I call it thugging it out. I gotta go run a sales meeting. I feel like crap, but no one's gonna know.
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
No, I think, I was pretty successful after I got diagnosed because whether I had a PICC line in my arm, pumping myself full of Rocephin, which we're going to get to that in a minute, like what treatments did we do? I started a ancillary, how do you put this? Cannabis ancillary business up in the Bay Area with a buddy of mine. And that business actually did really well. I was in the top 10 of products out of 50 dispensaries in the Bay Area. So you had like a mature market that it just
be cash.
A lot was cash. We took checks. It didn't matter really too much because at the time it was in 2018 when it became legal here and it was legal there already for med. And it's two different cultures. Like here's a party culture in Vegas. In the Bay Area, it's always been medicine. So you could get like 7-1 CBD to THC. So, but I learned because I was able to. I knew what I had going on. I knew when to back off. I when to put the foot on the pedal, which you tap it and then you're like, whoa, okay, kind of thing. And it's always been until like the past few years that I had to do that. And then, so I was up there and I was able to learn the market. I mean, show up with a t-shirt, don't show up with a collared shirt because I look like a Mormon kid trying to, like anything you wanted to dress up and be professional, you don't do it in a dispensary. It's it's counterculture. And so I was able, being that I knew, and I had a great support system at that point between friends and, like doctors and stuff like that. I had seen, I had an SOT in me at that point. So that kind of was kicking in. And then, I just knew for 5 years at that point of having it that it was okay, and even when I stopped my main company with the web design, web development, automation and programming and marketing and all that kind of stuff. I mean, that was 15 employees. I just couldn't, I had to go home and relax. I couldn't take on the anxiety, and which I didn't realize it was cortisol. I didn't realize how much that plays a part with the immune response. So that really kind of getting that now is a whole different thing. I mean, but when I started getting a grip on the anxiety and being able to kind of like ebb and flow with it, then I was able to go in, you BS with people and the dispensaries. It's a very relaxed kind of atmosphere. So, and not formal. And everybody's kind of very accepting. So it was kind of like a good market to go. And so, within about 9 months, like we had just batteries. I had 510 batteries that I actually went to China and like even jacked up on this, went to China and I did really well for 2 weeks. I mean, I was able to rock and roll.
Holy cow.
I drank, the only thing that screwed up in China was I drank some tea. Both of us did. And we got really sick because it was like, probably some of the best tasting weird fruit iced tea. It was the only thing we had without the bottle.
Because you haven't had a lot of food sensitivities, right?
At first I did. I had to go, like when I first got diagnosed, then I realized like eating, and going on the antibiotics, going through a natural, like the first 6 to 9 months, I jumped through a bunch of like treatments and it just wrecked me. And that's when I was like, okay, I had to go paleo diet per, some snake oil doctor here in town. Well, not even a doctor, but whatever she thinks she is. And I'll trash her later. But, I can't wait. This is going to be the best part of the episodes when I start going. So these are the hopeful ones. So when we get to doctors, it'll be another stuff. But no, I was going on paleo and it helped. Now I could eat anything. Like over the past couple of years after doing, the regimen that I did go on, I started eating sugar again. Like I was chowing down on like cheesecake and like, pasta and bread.
And that's messed me up so bad.
Yeah. So I could go, like I just went through Big Ziti. Like I made a bunch of it. So it's pasta, ricotta, mozzarella, Parmesan.
That's like
sweet Italian sausage. And it's just I'll make it here. Dude, but it just it's true to me, and like through the whole process, people are like, oh, I learn, I grow, I have to do this different stuff. But I'm healed, I'm cured. And I'm like, okay. And they're like, well, I can't do this, and this like I used to. And I'm like, okay, my fight, my ethos, who I am is what, was always that. I wanted to get back to me. And, you know, like it's been 12, 13 years since I, you know, first got sick. So, I mean, a lot of stuff happens over that time period. I got out of my 30s out of that. So like your ability to heal or, you know, ends in your 30s. So there's a lot of stuff too that, you know, you just can't do. And, you know, it is what it is and it's just life. So, but food wise, I mean, I feel a little bit of it, but it's just natural stuff that you feel, and food is so processed. So if I eat stuff like that, yeah, I do. But I mean, I could chow down on McDonald's and just go hike. You know, I'm fine. Like it doesn't.
Interesting.
I just get maybe a little bit more tired and laggy, but it doesn't at all affect any of the other stuff that it used to.
Yeah, it's fascinating how different, because your Lyme affected you, like your gut and your exercise, way different than mine.
Yeah.
And then you had some more brain fog than me that lasted longer. Yeah. So it's interesting how different every single person is.
Everybody is. Everybody. And it's, we'll get into this too in another episode, how it's an immunoresponse. Like that is what I found out just through and we'll go to actually, let's use this as a segue, how we met. Yeah. So in 2017, when I got diagnosed, I bounced around to different doctors, and one of the doctors here was Devin Shaw, that he got shut down because somebody died. He was an infectious disease doctor, but he was telling me that, yeah, there's some groups, there's support groups and stuff, but it was so fragmented. And always you run stuff, right? You organize stuff. You have that will, you have that determination. So to me, I was like, okay, there's always strength in numbers. So start a support group. Everything was online and was like, yeah, like I read the Facebook group and they were like, yeah, we're going to go meet at a pizza place. And I'm like, what the fuck are you going to do at a pizza place? No one in there should be eating pizza. That if everybody's sick. And so I'm like, all right. So I went around and I'm like, okay, I grew up in the Lutheran church. And then I don't know, because you were there at the first meeting that we did.
The very first one?
Yeah. When Damon did the breathing stuff and all that stuff at the first one. And I believe
I don't know.
I think you were there.
That was a while ago.
Yeah. So in like, it was beginning of 2018, we had that. Okay. And so we both met at that. And I mean, like at the time, I just like, it was a Lutheran church meetup, but then I was like, I'd like to backpack and hike and all that kind of stuff. So I was like, Lyme Climb. We're going to climb out of this. And so that, yeah, that was my mindset, like strength in numbers. Like the more people that you have, the more you're going to be able to accomplish, which is not the case with Lyme disease because most people are just jacked up anyway. But, meeting you helped. Meeting a couple people who were, had initiative, ambitious, that kind of fueled me too. And then some of the stuff that you've been through. Mm-hmm. So what do you remember from the first time with that or anything?
I don't know if I remember the first time. I remember, which actually it'd be cool if we got a stronger group here, because I remember when I was in San Diego, when I was in Utah, there were some really good Lyme support groups. When was the last meeting here?
It was in August. I have it actually on the website. It was August 30th, It's like 2 years ago.
Yeah, honestly,
and that's when we had the whiteboard and we were drawing stuff out, and like the people did the SOT. Again, I'm gonna plug SOT the whole. But anyway, it was night and day. Yeah, from everybody who lived at home and smoked weed with their parents to functioning.
Yeah, one of the things Vegas has been a little bit weird is just the people community. Yeah. Oh yeah, Arizona. When I was living in Phoenix, there was an awesome Lyme support group.
You know what we could do to get a better group? We could have like the Golden Knights Lyme support group, and I guarantee thered be community around there because there's a community for the hockey team. That's like the biggest thing. Everybody hates the Raiders.
Golden Knights Lyme support, yeah.
That would be it. It would be Vegas born. Like that would actually. So, but it is fragmented. We don't have a community. We don't have culture, and that was something I was like, okay, there's.
Well, I think. People with Lyme, they need in-person community with others that understand it. Because I remember when I was in Utah, I was getting these ozone IVs, and they were super expensive, and I had to do them twice a week. And I'm in the IV room, and there's other people in the IV room. But then I just look at the ozone machine, and I write the name down, I call the company, I buy the generator myself.
Damn.
I get the regulator and needles off eBay. I get the oxygen tank from a welding supply company. I pay someone in Germany $60 to teach me how to do DIV ozone, and I get my money back in a week and a half. But after like 4 weeks, every now and then I would still go do the ozone IV at the clinic because I miss sitting in that room with people so much.
Yeah.
And I felt, so alone, where I feel like Because I've thought about how to create community for people with Lyme, and it's like maybe you run like Zoom groups or I don't know, but I think people need in person like really bad these days. Yeah. Especially like you're just sitting at home and you're all depressed and isolated and no one understands your family. You look good, go to work and all this shit. And then you go to a support group and there's 10 other people that know exactly how you feel.
Well, Amy said it best in the first meeting. She was like, I just don't want to be alive. And she just said it from like across this.
Yeah, and we all know that feeling.
Yeah, and it was just like, it struck a chord. I'm like, okay, I'm not alone in this, you know, and then people start sharing, they tell the story, you know, and yeah, it definitely helped, you know, and then you also want to, you know, like for me and how I even doing this, like you want to go to bat for other people too. It's bigger than you. And that's, you know, really, and I don't chase people down with it anymore. If you want it, come to me. And, you know, like there's people out there, somebody in Pennsylvania that I'm talking to, you know.
Now, you're really good at advocating and like pushing things forward.
Yeah. Well, you know, like I understand. Look, I don't need to do anything. You're going to do it on yourself. You're self-made. Uh-huh. There's a lot of people who just aren't that way. I mean, if you ever needed anything, obviously, you know, but it's those people who want to take that step. And if they can at least call me up or get me on a 3-way call with a doctor, cool. Then I'll do it all day long. If I have to chase them down, like somebody's like, hey, I'll give you their number and call them. I'm like, no, if they can't call me, they're not going to be able to.
And unfortunately, a lot of doctors can lead people astray, especially if you have brain fog.
Yeah.
Like I went to a doctor's appointment with the person I'm dating the other day, and this guy sucked. You know, for her fatigue or whatever she's trying to figure out. And afterwards, I gave her my notes. I was like, I get the lab results. I would never see this guy again.
Yeah.
Because he's, you know, one of those doctors where you ask him a question, he's all like looping around, doesn't like it or intimidated. He's like a salesperson, not a actual service provider.
Well, he's an extension of a pharmaceutical rep that comes into the office.
You know what I mean?
So, we're going to have an episode about doctors and how to vet those too.
Doctors, there's a lot I could talk about.